Tristespresso Campus 2018, we are inside the Tristespresso Expo and exhibition. So Dr. Vacchi and so from IMA group, he's going to present us the group of his company who is working with and the corporate social responsibility.
Okay, thank you, Andrea,
for
thank
coming.
you very much, and I will speak to you later. If you have any questions,
absolutely at the end.
Any sorts of questions in the end. The subject is very interesting, and it's I'm pleased to be here today to speak about a subject that is not so common in terms of business, because as everyone knows, normally business deal with what can be bought and sold, and we are talking about something different. We're talking about the event of a company. As you know, normally coffee is meant to be an attribute of something else, like is the attribute of your breakfast or is the attribute of your meal. It's something that happens to decorate, in a certain sense, something else. I think coffee is much more. It's an event. It's something that happens. It's something that happens to you to concentrate on the rest of your day, to make sure that you had a good moment in your lunch. And when you drink a coffee, you are particularly aware of what is happening in that very moment. Now, a company, in a certain sense, is something similar. A company is not only an economical actor. A company is deeply inserted into the awareness of a society. And when you are working in a company, you normally try to deal with values, because they are what make the company develop. Now let me try to go through the index very quickly. Well, what I would like to tell you about now is the sustainable challenges when you deal with the automatic machine sector, and how we introduce the culture of sustainability into IMA with some examples. Now, what is IMA? IMA is the world leader in manufacturing machines for the pharmaceutical, food, cosmetic sectors. It is one of the biggest companies in the world in machines building, and in particular is the world leader in machines for the pharmaceutical sector. We entered the coffee business about 10 years ago, first with the coffee pods, and then with capsules, and recently through acquisitions like Petroncini, we are now able to supply complete systems, from the raw materials to the packaging to the logistics to the truck. Basically, we can supply the complete factory to coffee producers. Now we are, as you see from this slide, which is not very visible actually, it's not very visible, so I can explain it to you and make a quick synthesis. And in pharmaceuticals, we make all possible solid products. In food and dairy, we are specialized in flow packaging and filling, form filling and sealing. In tea, coffee and beverage, through several brands like Misa, like IMA Tea, like Fill Shape, like IMA Urca, we can supply a lot for the tea bags market and for the coffee market. In confectionery, we are able to supply several machines from wrapping to packaging. And in tobacco, we entered a few years ago into that field, in a field that produces machines for the new forms of smoking, the less dangerous smoking of the short cigarettes manufactured by Philip Morris. And in automation, we are able to do any sort of applications for several fields. And in personal care, also in personal care, we have a complete system of packaging and processing equipment for the cosmetic products. Very quickly, I'm trying to go on. IMA is a large company. As you can see, 6,000 employees. And we are about 1.5 billion in sales last year, This year we will exceed 1.6 billion. We have a growth that is approximately 10% growth every year. So it's a consistent growth. We realize it through two different tactics. The strategy of growth is partially on research and development and partially on acquisitions. We were born in 1961, if ever for a company you can use the word being born. But it's a long way. It's been a long way. This is what we do for coffee. So we can help, we can cooperate with the coffee roasters and with the coffee packagers and the coffee distribution in all different steps of the coffee manufacturing, from green coffee intake to roasting process to grinding and to packaging of various form. Packaging is the way we do, is what we do best. Processing and packaging are what we've been able to master in so many years of activity. And finally, here you can see some of the packaging. We can, from pods to injected capsules to the thermoform capsules, to the thermoform capsule for drip coffee, from the pillow bag, from the vacuum pack, from the stand-up bag. Well, sometimes can be called the doi pack. And the sealed outer envelope, the stand-up bag, the dispensing box, the flow pack, the pre-glued blocks, the flat blank box, the flip-top box, and the shipping case and palletizing systems. So basically, all you need to go from the raw material to the truck can be supplied by just one company responsible to add to these manufacturing technologies what is now under the world of Industry 4.0. So all the systems of controls that can help you to do a sound manufacturing. So the sustainability has become very important for us because most of our customers have been asking us to have a sustainability strategy and to be a part of their sustainability strategy. Most of the brands, the largest brands in the world, already have a politics in sustainability, and they deal with all the problems of a sustainable brand. We think that any brand must communicate to its customers in order to eliminate the idea that customer is just somebody who buys something. A customer is someone who's becoming more and more aware of the values beyond which a company stands. So in the future, any so-called customer, any buyer of any brand will become more and more aware of the type of brand, and brands know it. Most of the biggest companies in the world have today a very clear strategy on why we are in a certain territory, what are we doing for the area in which we work. The industry is also changing. With the digitalization of industry, the industries will become smaller. And every territory will have most of the productions needed in that particular territory, and the people will be aware of how much of the profits of companies is reinvested in the same territory. In the history of sustainability, you have to start from the history largest example, which is the example of the company Olivetti. Olivetti thought that a company is not a external structurally in a certain area, but has to take account of what happens in a certain area. The Olivetti workers were allowed to take any quantity of time to do the field works of all the farms that were around the Olivetti company. And any worker in Olivetti could have the nursery for the children, the library and the books to read, and they were also allowed with scholarships to go to university, even to study subjects that had nothing to do with the Olivetti production. The CSR culture modifies the way people act and relate inside a company. And the relationship with the territory is the instrument to improve the relationship between the people inside a company. Now, this is the big challenge of technology. Everyone knows, I think most of you have seen already this. What is going to happen in the modern industry is that we are inserting advanced robotics. We are starting to manufacture using additive manufacturing. We are using augmented reality. We are simulating everything that happens, even machines functioning. We are using horizontal and vertical integration in order to improve the standards of manufacturing. We have the industrial internet. We are using the clouds. We have the cybersecurity problem, which we are solving slowly, but every day slowly. And we have big data and analytics, which are going to help us to let our machinery and equipment work, being controlled in a remote way elsewhere. So we will not have to sell machines to people who are able to use it. We are selling machines to people who will use the machines under our control. It's like for your photocopying machine, your Xerox machine, you don't have to fix it. Somebody comes and fixes it, and what you are paying is just quantity of paper. Even for compressed air. Compressed air, in future, you will buy only quantity of compressed air. The compressors will be managed by somebody else. And they are doing also so for heating. Heaters in the future do not have to be managed by the people owning the heater. The heaters is just sold and you pay only the quantity of heat. And somebody else manages the heaters. And this is going to happen also for machines. Basically, the factory of the future is based on a place where there are machines and there is only one man and one dog. And the man's function is just to feed the dog. And the dog function is to stop the man from touching the machines. That's what's going to happen in the future. This is more or less very quickly the model of ethics and the distribution of knowledge, because you do not have modern factories without a clear strategy on how you create and distribute knowledge. The future is subjects with much more knowledge, able to have a clear knowledge of the whole process. In sustainability, we've been already working for 6 years. We are maybe the only large manufacturer of machines already with a 6-year experience in corporate social responsibility. This is already written very little, but it's just to show you that from 2010 to today, we have done a long way into acting and cooperating with international organizations in order to give back to the world a part of the profits and to make sure that we were doing something for our people, for the territory, in healthcare and against famine in the world. One project in particular is with FAO in the sub-Saharan countries. It's really very. Can you hear me? Can you still hear me? And it's a project to reduce the food waste. It's a 3-year project to reduce food waste through the study of modern and easy packaging way. Because as you know, 60% of the food that is produced in the world is lost. We, in Europe, we waste it. In Africa, in particular, they lose it along the production steps. Some in the fields, some after they pick up the crop, some because they cannot preserve it, and some because they cannot package it, and some because they cannot store it, and some because they don't have time enough, of means enough to distribute it. So 60% is lost. So this is the areas that you have to consider when you have a strategy of sustainability. You begin with governance and business integrity. This is extremely important. There is no CSR in companies who think that they have no business integrity. So the most important thing is not to sell at any cost, but to sell in the right way to people who is able to use what you sell. Product quality and liability, environment, and you have to do something for the environment. When we began checking what we were doing for the environment, some of our technicians thought it was just a loss of time to collect so much information and to publish so much information about how much carbon dioxide we were producing, how much waste we were producing, how much water we were consuming. But if you begin from a white page and you decide that you want to know what's going on in terms of environment, then in the end you can have a strategy of slowly by slowly every year improving just a little bit. And this is what we want to achieve. We will be able by 2020 to meet the requirements and the objectives that we have established. Communities, development of knowledge. So we invest in healthcare programs and in internal and external educational programs. And persons. The respect of the person, the possibility of persons within the organization to have the best use of their personal potentials. This is what a company needs together in any field. In our field in particular, because we don't manufacture twice the same thing. All our machines are different from one another. They all differ. So we have to make something that always changes from one day to another. We have to change continuously our ways of thinking. So we need people who believe in what they do. This is facts and figures. I'm sorry it's not so clear to read it, but it's just to show you that you have an economic responsibility towards the company. You have a responsibility in terms of governance, and then you have the environment and the social responsibility. You do not just have a generically social corporate responsibility. You have specific fields that you have to address. And in the end, we are members of the CDP, which is the climate change organization that measures your performances. And we are members of FAO. We are cooperating with FAO and with the initiative in Germany for safe food. And we are also working on the modification of the habits of packagers all over the world that want to change from polluting materials to non-polluting materials. Since we do the technology that employs these materials, we have to prove continuously that these new materials can be processed through our machines. And that's what we do, through research. So we invest in research that somebody else should do, but we do it because we want to do a better service specifically for those companies who want to reduce the environmental impact. And this is it.